One. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It is the holy season, and if I could put a garland around my neck, I would. Yes, I would. I would look just as crazy with some Christmas bell earrings. Look, stop looking at me like I'm crazy, Ariel.
Okay.
Are you for real?
No,
Yeah,
sounds gorgeous. Sounds gorgeous.
No, let me tell you, I think I'm gonna go back to this woman and get some red earrings that look like little bows. I'm gonna look like that. I'm going crazy, but I'm excited because it's a most wonderful time of the year, and it's raining in Chicago. You can't make this stuff up in December. What can anyone say? Climate change.
Right.
I'm Santita Jackson. Let's talk. Yep. Let's talk as we close out the year. You know what we're going to do? We're going to talk about some of these big issues that we've been wrestling with through the year. And I'm so glad to have my family here with me today because you all have become family, and it's become like a wonderful coffee clutch. We got to get you back to Chicago, Ariel, because we have got to get together and have a wonderful brunch. Did a girls' weekend?
Definitely.
Soon coming, guys.
Soon coming.
Well, we'll let Josh and a few of the other guys come in. We will.
Soon coming. Let's plan.
We've got to do that. I'm serious. It would be so much fun.
Yeah. Let's do that.
I'm serious because we've talked virtually, and maybe we can do it around. Maybe them trying to put Rahm Emanuel in the Democratic Party. Yikes! I know. Look, you can't stuff up, but there's so much. But what this crisis that we're in since November 5th, 2024, many people have become anxious and they have been in crisis mode. Don't do that. We should be in planning mode. The fact is, no matter who is in office, we have to work. You have to push. Politics is not dating, honey. It's a destination. Okay? Don't fall in love. Fall in line. Let's get over it. Let's lick our wounds. Let's keep it moving. And let's figure out how we can get out of this administration what it is that we need. That's what you have to do with all administrations. With some administrations, it might be a little easier. But then again, maybe not, depending upon how the political winds shift. That's how it works, everybody, in politics. And what we need to do is talk about the issues that we've been wrestling with throughout the year that I think are going to carry over into 2025. And one of those issues is immigration, which is the border, migrant, immigration crisis. Birthright citizenship has come back up. There is so much on the table, and something that they're not talking about, and we talked about this yesterday at Rainbow Push, at the Operation Push Forum, to be exact, Dr. LaShawn Latrice. We were talking about the 10th Partnership Program for Refugees. It was a memo of understanding that our Secretary of State signed in 2022 with the founder of Kobani Yogurt. Mm-hmm. It was 300 companies at that time. It's more than 400 now. They're bringing in refugees and they're putting them to work. So when you say the border crisis and how are they here, they're being brought here to go to work. The country was built on stolen land with unpaid labor. We have not learned the lessons of empire. Have we, Ariel Gold, Fellowship of Reconciliation? We haven't. Attorney Anastasia Sanat?
Yes, ma'am.
Association for Illinois. Social activist, freedom fighter, Dr. Alia Amar, and community activist, freedom fighter, and community psychologist. Watch what you say around this one. Dr. LaShawn Latrice. We haven't learned those lessons. A little bit of housekeeping, everybody. I am now officially on Blue Sky, and I'm so excited because I actually did it myself. That's right. At santitajackson.bsky.social. Now, the picture, don't hold me to it, everybody. I couldn't see, so my eyes are like half closed. I was trying to figure out. I said, let me put this selfie up real fast, but I'll change it eventually. But I'm also on X at Santita J and the Santita Jackson Show. But go to at Santita J. I really like that one. And the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page and the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. So everybody, please get on over there. Join Mildred. And thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Hey, shalom, Robert. Paula, happy, 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 happy Grandma Day. My sweet, she became a grandmother for the first time. And I love you, my sweet. Since you're in Chicago, we're going to figure out something. We're going to get together and, go get all of our Chicago people together. And we're going to Zoom in Ariel and we're going to get her in here so we can all have some fun. And, but let's talk about immigration. It's a real live issue. And it seems that some people, thank you for following me, Ariel, that just came across on my iPad. Thank you. Some people present as a crisis for us in immigration. Others are opportunities. We keep talking about all of these people who are surging at the border. The most visa overstays are from the North, Canadians, but no one talks about them.
Mm-hmm.
Most people who are coming in from Mexico are not Mexicans. That part. And we got more than 38,000 Ukrainians in Chicago, more than 200,000 plus Ukrainians who came in from the war. President Biden created a program so that they could come into the country, so they could be housed, clothed, fed, and be given employment opportunities. No one's talking about that. And on top of the 200,000, there are at least 100,000 more. But they're not presenting us with a crisis. They're presenting us with opportunities, and they've been given opportunities. So, we don't deal with this immigration piece the same way with everybody. And all I'm saying is I'm not mad about what's happened with the Ukrainians. I'm saying just for people who are native born, give them that space, because they're not getting it. And that's what you're hearing in the Black communities and in Latino communities all over the country. They're saying, wait a minute, I've been here for hundreds of years and I'm homeless or I'm struggling to pay my bills. But we also have people who are legitimately seeking refuge here. And many of these people who more than 10 to 12 million of them, depending upon which estimation you read, they are here. And corporations are saying, thank you very much, tent partnership for refugees. Wait a minute, if you take them out, the farming system's going to collapse. Our factories are going to collapse. See, that's the piece they're not telling you. We have our Secretary of State, Ariel, signed a memorandum of understanding. Yes, this is a great program. We're going to let them in. So let's talk about this immigration piece. All of those parts. Because these are parts that no one's really talking about, but we need to talk about them. And we need to be clear that we don't have problem people. We have people with problems, as my brother Congressman Jonathan Jackson says. So I'm going to do a round robin with everybody here. And give me a couple of minutes so we can leave enough space for everybody and we can then jump into, full bore into this conversation. Let me start with you at the top of the page, Dr. Amar, Dr. Alia Amar. What do you make of this immigration, border crisis, migrant crisis?
It's a crisis because we didn't solve other crises. If we solve the root cause problems that bring people, across great adversity to our shores, then we would have done what is necessary to improve their lives without people having to come to the United States. But make no mistake, people are always going to come to the United States, and it's how the United States responds to that. And we have responded poorly, and increasingly poorly for the last several decades. We're now talking about imprisoning people, basically, that want to come here. We are making it more difficult for legal pathways to be in place. We are separating families from one another. There are still thousands of children from the last round of placing children in cages away from their parents who were never reunited with their parents. And we're ready to double down on this. So we have to ask ourselves why we're willing to be draconian instead of forward thinking and solution focused.
Ariel Gold, what are your thoughts?
You know, this idea that immigrants hurt America is just plain old absurd. Nobody in America works harder than immigrants. You know, you have in this population people that are I'm sorry, you want to be in America because there's nowhere better to go. And these are hardworking Americans. And cities in America that welcome immigrants historically benefit from that. It builds the economy, and that's what we know. But we're in for some really dark days. Honestly, I don't totally know what to expect, just that it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Dr. LaShawn Latrice.
It is definitely a humanity crisis because we're looking at the question of humanity that takes place when people are shifted all over the place, but they're also moved with the misinformation of having people placed against each other, thinking that resources are being taken from one group of people to be given to another, which is causing a rift between different communities. So my take is at this point, we have to start informing people of the facts behind things and making sure that they understand what the logistics looks like and who's responsible for these people being moved. Because my answer to a lot of people is when they say, well, how are they able to just come and take our resources? I said, well, first of all, let's get something straight. They don't have planes to get on, buses to get on. They don't have any means or resources to be able to infiltrate someone's city. So they're not the culprits. Let's go to the source, to the corporate partnerships, the political officials, all of those people who have linked together to have somehow make some money off of this and try to minimize people's worth. And so I try to get people to look at it from a different perspective.
Well, you know, it's amazing because it feels like slavery part 2. I mean, it's the colonial project, right? I mean, because we're all over here because the oligarchs and the monarchs ended up having a fight. Well, no, first the monarchs were looking for some more lands to conquer so they get some more wealth. Okay. Then some people got rich over here. And the monarch said, no, you know, I want a pound of your flesh. And the oligarch said, oh, no. I built this. No. And so they became enlightened. And they said, no, I know you're God descended, but, you know, I'm good, too. I mean, we need to look at this because this is how America was born. But Attorney Anastasia Sinat, I mean, just when you all have something to say, it just sparks my thinking. And everybody continue to like and share. Hey, Andre. Hey, Carol. You said Kamala wanted to give a first-time homeowner subsidy. Amen. Could some public push be made to get Trump to believe that a subsidy is a good idea he can take credit for? You know what? I think we can do that in politics. Politics is about pressure, Carol. It really is. It really is. And I might say, you know, I don't write anyone off. People tried to write off LBJ. And he did some great things. I'm not saying that is what Trump is going to do, but you know what? I'm still waiting on the pardons for the people from the 94 crime bill. President Biden got a month to do it.
You know, I want to say honestly that our immigration needs reform. This is something that has been talked about for years upon years upon years. I believe that you mentioned earlier how our country was founded. It was founded on stolen land. And of course, they used that assistance of stolen people in order to build our country.
Not the assistants.
Well, you know, I'm trying to be politically.
No, I'm not. No. I'm trying to be politically accurate.
Okay.
Because they say that immigrants built America. With all due respect to immigrants.
But they were not immigrants. They were slaves. You're correct.
No, they didn't build America. Enslaved people built America.
Enslaved people.
And then immigrants came here and got jobs, and they continue to build up America.
But what I think is important to
the
know.
White House twice.
Yeah, but what I think is important to note is that there is a distinction in policy application. For example, the Ukrainians were able to come into the United States as refugees, which gave them a certain status in the United States, which allowed them to ultimately be on a pathway to citizenship. The Cubans, the Haitians, the Nicaraguans, the Venezuelans, they came to the United States in different ways, but primarily in a way that did not put them on a pathway. They came in through what people have called the Biden program. And the Biden program is basically an opportunity for those nationals from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela to come in as parolees. If you are a parolee, that doesn't put you on a pathway to citizenship. It just gives you an opportunity to work here in the United States. And I think that is the biggest distinction on the application of our immigration law that many people are not aware of. Our immigration law does not favor brown and black people. It definitely favors those of European descent. They would like United States to maintain its majority when it comes to being an American, but only a white/Caucasian American. They are not interested in having people who are considered worldwide as brown and black. They've gone so far as to define what is Caucasian to include Northern Africa. So when we're thinking about what is it that we need to do as Americans, how is it that we can improve our system of justice when it comes to immigration? The first thing we would need to do is immigration reform.
Attorney Sanat,
Yeah, I hear something in the background. I don't know what that is.
Okay, no, I'm just trying to get you in the right place so we can keep you right where you are right now. Continue.
You know, I want to add something to what Attorney Sanat is saying, because I'd love her opinion on this. Given what you're saying about immigration and immigration law, the history of immigration in the United States, whether it was the Chinese Exclusion Act from 1882 that restricted immigration from China, the Immigration Act of 1924, the Johnson-Reed Act, which barred people from Asia unless they were Japanese or Filipinos, and a number of other immigration acts that, to reinforce your point, limit the presence and the growth of Black and brown people. And as we face changes in the United States Census that place the majority outside, that place white people outside of the majority and make minorities as a larger group the majority people, what we're seeing is a return to trying to enact those types of policies. And I'd love your opinion on that, if I'm right or wrong.
Well, I think that it's true. We have done, when I say we, I mean United States of America, because I'm an American. We have done an unfortunate job of excluding brown and black people. In fact, there was a case which changed our trajectory when it came to naturalization from a person from India. This person from India wanted very much to be considered white.
That's right.
Because if he was considered white, then he could become a citizen of the United States. That case changed our American application of the law, because what happened was he's not white, he's brown, right? And they were not willing to accept him at that point. And he did everything he could to argue himself as a white person so that he can become naturalized. And I think that is the problem with America in general. We do so much to create a standard, right, that only fits one demographic. And when you do that, you exclude so many different beautiful things that can come from the other people. So, for example, I'm a child of immigrants. My parents are immigrants from the country of Haiti. Mom and dad both came in the 60s, excuse me, not in their 60s, but in the 60s. And both of them were basically recruited to the United States because of their services that they can provide to the African American community. Mom was a registered nurse. She's now retired. Papa was a cardiovascular disease specialist who was recruited here to Illinois. because of his specialty in medicine. Now, what's a problem is, had it not been for the racial tension, the racial segregation of the United States, they would not have sought out these Black people to come help the Black people in the United States.
Wait a minute.
Now, were there Black people in the United States that could have done it? Sure. But were they allowed to go to college? That was the problem. Were they allowed to go to medical school? That is the problem.
And let me add this, and because of the push of Black people in the streets in the civil rights movement, there were things there was also a portal opened for Black people in particular and people of color to have a portal to be able to immigrate to the United States. Because all that stuff was not to shut you down, but all of that was happening at that time.
Oh no, Black people weren't trying to come to the United States. Why leave a Black country where the president is Black and the garbage man is Black to come to a place where a person doesn't respect you as a medical professional?
No.
They weren't trying to do it.
No. What I'm saying is the door was open because Black people in America were pushing open the door.
Sure, absolutely. I would definitely credit African Americans for being able to open up the door for Nigerians and the diaspora, I should just say, the African diaspora to come to the United States. Wouldn't nobody be here if it wasn't for what African Americans suffered and went through in order to open the door? Absolutely. You're absolutely correct.
But I agree with what Attorney Santita is saying, because if you go to any medical school or any hospital, any teaching hospital, there's usually a set of pictures that I'm always interested in. It's the graduating classes of every medical school group since that university was founded. And what I found over and over and over again is you can walk through, whether the college was open in the 1800s or in the 1900s, you're walking through decade after decade after decade with no Black faces, unless you are very discerning and you see that one person who was passing, back in the 20s or back in the 30s. And then you have what Attorney Santita is describing, a need at some point to now provide services to groups of people who are heavily marginalized. And let's go back to the idea of empire, and let's go back to the idea of maintaining empire. In order to maintain the racial divisiveness that is present in the United States, you have to have systems that you can open up at times and bring other individuals in. You're not saying let's have white doctors provide medical care in Black neighborhoods, or let's diversify neighborhoods more. You're not saying let's change the composition of those pictures in the hallways at medical schools. Let's actually have Black doctors. You're saying, you know what? For this set of years, let's selectively recruit from Black countries these Black professionals while continuing to restrict by law access to our own citizens who would like to seek that level of education.
And my only point is, in saying this, America by that time had become a pariah state, as South Africa had become a pariah state. America could not function on the world stage. Indeed, it was a picture in Pravda, which was the national newspaper of the Soviet Union, of Black children being bitten by dogs and hosed, that embarrassed America internationally. So there was this mad scramble with all of the dying and the marching and the organizing that we were doing. It was that picture in Pravda, the cover shot, that was the game changer. People went all over the world. They said, wait, it's just like South Africa. They had to let Mandela free because South Africa couldn't do business around the world. And it was getting hard for America to do business. It was a bad look.
I mean, if we look at our indigenous people, Santita, we look at the fact that the United States didn't want to even accept the indigenous people that they call Indians as citizens of the United States. In 1884, Elk versus Wilkins, they indicated that people who were indigenous to this land were not able to become citizens of the United States without the government consent. It
But
wasn't until
until,
the Indian Citizens Act of 1924,
yes.
1924, that Congress decided, hey, all those people that were here over hundreds of years before we even got here and created the United States in 1776, were now able to be citizens.
But
That's crazy.
we can look at our own history, Ariel and Dr. Latrice. I mean, after the Civil War, they said, what are we going to do with all these Negroes?
They got citizenship before indigenous people got citizenship.
No, they had to amend the Constitution to make us citizens because they were not going to do it. We've got to read Lerone Bennett's book, Forced into Glory, Abraham Lincoln's White Dream. Abraham Lincoln said, if I could save the Union and not free a slave, I would do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He was a white supremacist. I mean, God bless him, but he was. What he did, I mean, it's just the truth. And Lerone Bennett, this was his seminal work at the end of his life. He took more hits, but all he did was pull his speeches and the quotes. And the evidence is in the establishing of Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
They said, no, we got to get them.
And Liberia was established by African Americans.
Well, I mean, it was established by white people, by the American Colonization Society. And then they sent them over there. They said, now y'all sit over there and please go.
Until Marcus Garvey began to say, let's get out, let's leave. And then the consideration was economic, which is similar to what we're looking at right now. Immigration policy right now, as racist as
it is
to continue to be, well, they like to ramp it up, Attorney Sanat. And so, as racist as they would like it to be, the truth is it's going to hit a wall, which is going to be economic. And just like African Americans, Harveyites were prevented from exiting the United States when it became clear that the economic impact was going to be too much. I think we're going to see the same thing coming from industry, because migrants and immigrants often take jobs that no one else wants. When's the last time that you saw any native-born American fighting to be a farmer, fighting to pick grapes?
No, because I mean, you get no respect and you get no pay. Ain't nobody doing that. Right. I mean, and that's why they're bringing them in, because we have not learned the lessons of empire, Ariel.
And they are all on welfare.
Well, no, and like they teach the Walmart workers to get on welfare if you're going to work for me.
Right. Because they hire them only part-time and skip out on paying benefits. I just happened to have just a couple days ago walked by the memorial in DC to the Japanese who were interned during World War II, right? Like we have such a long ways to go. Mm-hmm. And we're not far from that going into 2025.
But you know what? I think it's so deep in the DNA. It's deeply embedded. And I think that's why this conversation, I think, is so necessary, because this is how, this is how we do it. My apologies to the song. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. But we have not learned that it is a model that does not work in 2024. It really did not work. Right. In 1824 and 1724, but it absolutely does not work now. Because really, look, I speak English, but I'm not English. Mm-hmm. These brown people, they're not Spanish, they speak Spanish, they're actually indigenous people, who history will show they traveled all through the Americas, because this is their home. There's a lot going on here that we got to unpack. But what we absolutely have to unpack is the fact that you're not going to get rid of 10 to 12 million people. And this idea that you are going to keep them seasonally is absolutely absurd. I mean, it's just, are you serious right now? That is crazy. So, I mean, what are we going to do? I mean, because you've got so many African Americans, and you can explain this, Dr. Latrice, because you're in one of these communities where they have, or you've been adjacent to them, and you have been working with people who are so upset. They're saying, wait a minute, you are taking care of these people. No one's talking about the Ukrainians who got the sweetest deal ever. Okay.
Mhm. Yes.
They're the ones who got the sweet deal. But I mean, Black people are very angry about this. And you were saying that what you try to do is give them the information, because even I was talking to some city officials yesterday, Ariel, and Attorney Sanat, and Dr. Amar, and Dr. Latrice. I said, have you heard of the tent partnership program for refugees? None of them had heard of it. I said, okay. And fortunately, I had an extra copy of the memo of understanding from Anthony Blinken. I said, you don't have to say this. I said, because the mayor can't talk about this because he needs to deal with the captains of industry. He's got to keep business going. That's his job. I said, but his allies can talk about it, because these people never meant to close the border, Ariel.
Right.
Attorney Sanat, no. They wanted to let these people come in. They want Venezuela without Venezuelans because they want their oil. And by the way, just bring them up here so they can go to work. Then we'll send them back to a collapsed state, or I don't care where they go, but they're going to get out of here. And then they'll come back. How? But Elon Musk is talking about colonizing space. I'm like, so you're going to have colonialism in space. I mean, good luck with that.
I do see it happening, but what I think is important for us to redirect our attention to is what you had mentioned earlier, birthright citizenship.
Yeah.
So first of all, I brought up Elk versus Wilkins because in 1884, they said that people who were indigenous to this land were not considered American. And it wasn't until 1924 that they said birthright citizenship for indigenous people existed. And then, of course, I mentioned also the United States versus signed THIND case, where the Indian wanted to be considered white so that he can also get citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're at a point where people are truly scared, because what we've heard from the upcoming administration is that people like my parents, who came here because they were requested to be here in order to assist people and ultimately became naturalized citizens of the United States, are now facing an opportunity where they may not be able to maintain their citizenship here in the United States because people are trying to take it away from them. What we need to do as an American, collective is to really think about that. Melania Trump is a immigrant to the United States.
Under a genius visa.
I was going to say she's a genius.
I'm just saying, she's an immigrant. She wasn't born here in the United States. She can never be president of the United States. What she is that she came in here and she is now a naturalized citizen.
Don't you miss this part? She came here on a genius visa, a supermodel.
Sure.
Would you
how she got here is not as important as the fact that she's not from here.
Listen, we get that.
And if you're trying to take away the birthright citizenship and you're trying to take away naturalization, are you going to take it away from Melania?
Yeah, no, because she's white. It doesn't count. No, you don't. Hello, my lovely soror.
Right, soror.
Do you not get this? Yeah,
I do get it.
No, because we had been here since 1532 with the Spaniards, Black people. Mm-hmm. They had to amend the Constitution after the Civil War, after we lost more people than we've ever lost in any conflict ever. There was a fight to make Black people citizens. That's the birth of birthright citizenship.
I mean, in World War II, Haiti was the only country that accepted Jewish people into their country, but Jewish people did not want to be here. United States didn't even want to accept the Jewish people.
Of course not.
Ariel, am I wrong?
Oh, Ariel, unmute.
Uh-oh, you got to unmute, Miss Gold.
You are not wrong. Ships were turned around in the U.S., and in 1924, immigration from Asia, this was going after South Asian and Middle Eastern, Syrian specifically, were completely prohibited from entering the U.S. Mm-hmm. This is our history, and it's our today.
Right. The Chinese Exclusion Act that Dr. Alia Amar mentioned Why did that exist? Because they didn't want them to make that money off the trains. They were doing our railroad. How did our railroad get,
Mhm.
the way that it is?
I
If
want to
you
ask.
also brought up the internment camps that were for people that were literally born in the United States of America, but because they had Japanese heritage, they were considered
Right.
enemies of the United States government. It's
Some
I want
crazy.
to pick on something really quickly
German as
though,
well.
on birthright citizenship, and especially because I noticed that someone was commenting on it in the comments. There's
Mhm.
this fear that Donald Trump is going to come in and he's going to make an executive order, and that's going to stop birthright citizenship. That's not how it works.
No.
Mm-mm.
Birthright citizenship is our right under the 14th Amendment. So
Right,
let's
it's
talk about
constitutional
that
law. Yeah.
and
God.
talk about what has to happen in order to change an amendment, because we are still a republic, we are still a democracy, and so we don't have a king. In a monarchy, maybe somebody can shift a rule really quickly, but here we have the United States Constitution. It takes 2/3 of the House of Representatives and the Senate in order to change a constitutional amendment, or it takes 2/3 of the state legislatures. Now, out of the state legislatures, you currently don't have enough state legislatures that are Republican and would move in that direction. You would need to have, I think it's at least 33, and you don't have that. At maximum, you have 31 at the current time. So right now, there's no mechanism that could easily be used to then change an amendment. The founders made it very difficult to change constitutional amendments. That's why the only one that has ever been changed was the constitutional amendment that provided for prohibition. Americans could get together and say, yeah, we'd like to have our alcohol. They are not going to get together and say, hey, we'd like to make it more confusing. We'd like to say that, many people who are here, who were born here, whose parents are here. There's also a lie. I'm gonna wrap up in a second. There's also a lie that Donald Trump has been promoting recently, to say that America is one of the only countries with birthright citizenship. Every country in North America and South America, with the exception, I believe, of Colombia, has birthright citizenship the same way that we do. Nearly all other countries that don't have the same type of version of birthright citizenship that we have a restricted version of it. One of your parents has to meet certain criterion. And for some of them, if neither of your parents is a citizen of the country, if the child has resided in the country for at least 10 years, they can then be considered a citizen. So we need to stop granting a man who has not even been sworn in yet powers that he does not have under our Constitution. That's where the fight has to start.
And you
Well,
know,
in order to, as you
if
mentioned,
there is-
Doctor.
no,
Oh,
no,
I'm
but
sorry.
let me say this: if there is a fight after he gets in, because believe me, he's not alone. This is not a Republican thing. Listen, people, you can if you get live on social media, you will be told to get back to Africa. You keep on going.
Mhm.
People don't have a problem telling you that. They don't have a problem saying awful things to you, Ariel. They don't have a problem. I mean, we hear these things. This stuff is deep, buried deep in the DNA of the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good thing that it is coming out. My cousin, brilliant PhD from Stanford, he's an engineer, taught up at MIT, all of that. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. He said, you know what? I think America is having an honest moment.
Absolutely.
And I said,
Mm.
everybody at the table just stopped. And he just kept eating. He just kept, we said, he said, I mean, what? We're being honest. This is, please don't tell me anymore this is not who we are, because it is precisely who we are. Now, the question is, will we continue to be this? Because we're not a democracy. We have democratic elements. You have a democratic element because a House of Representatives seat you got to run for if it's vacated. The Republic comes in, you are appointed to the Senate, to the House of Lords. The House of Commons, you got to run for it. House of Lords, that's a different story. You know, you got an election, sure, that's democratic. Wait, hold on, darlings. Got the Electoral College. Oh, wait a minute. And the Democrats, well, you know what? We've just canceled the primary season. Wait a minute.
I think it's important for us to recognize.
Wait, no, I'm not done. I'm on a rant.
No,
14 million votes. Okay. No.
I'm just saying that President-elect Donald Trump, he wants to do this sweeping reform of the immigration system. And part of it includes enforcement and removal of undocumented, is the word that people use, immigrants, right? They're illegally present in the United States, meaning they don't have any applications pending with the United States. They're just here working, right? When we look at what he can possibly accomplish within his first term, my thought is that he won't be able to accomplish it. He wasn't able to accomplish it in his first years as president. I highly doubt he'll be able to accomplish a lot of things. But when we look at what he's targeting, he wants to make example of people like, Democratic cities like Chicago. He's saying that he's going to come here to Chicago. And what he's going to do is make an example of Brandon Johnson and say that we're going to sweep up Chicago and we're going to find all these undocumented immigrants. We're going to remove them. We're going to put them in court and we're going to have them deported to their country. The problem with that is that they killed a bill that would allow any kind of enforcement to truly take place. He did that during the Biden administration. I used to work for the Department of Homeland Security, Immigration and Customs Enforcement as a federal prosecutor. In my years, over 15 years as a prosecutor for the federal government, it was apparent to me that resources are the problem with many of the things that we see in the news. If we do not have the resources to enforce the policies of the current administration, things will not get done. So even though Tom Homan is saying that he's going to be the next border czar and he's going to come in and he's going to take all of these people out of Chicago, the truth is there are no resources, truthfully, that can make that happen to such an extent as what people are afraid of. I think what really is important for Americans to understand and to learn and to get back to is many of these Black people that come from all these other countries really don't want to come to the United States. They come here for money because the United States has their foot on their country. For example, Haiti, right, Santita? Let's talk about Haiti because that's my people.
Better to go.
I'm saying, and
Yep.
Venezuela.
Willing to settle.
And for many
I'm
of
telling you, Haitians do not want to come to Springfield, Ohio and be in the cold. Haitians do not want to come to Chicago and be in the cold. They don't want to come to any of these cold cities.
Venezuelans don't want to be here either in the cold.
No, they want to be in their country. But United States has their foot on the people. We had a president of Haiti that was assassinated in 2021. We're literally heading into 25, which means almost 4 years later, there's no president, but the country still operates. They still take in and take out people. They still put people in jail, take people out of jail. They still have all of these things operating. But what is the problem? United States has their foot on it. So that's why we need what we call a renewed Marshall Plan for Haiti. Give us the money that we gave you. Give us the money that you took from us. Give us the things that we need in order to restart the economy, restart the publication of good and all things good within the country so that we don't have to come to your country. But that's not what the United States is trying to do. They're just trying to steal the resources.
Stop interfering. We don't need an American empire that creates the problems that then lead people to come here. I mean, there's a song, I don't know who knows it, I'm a little old, where it's there's a hole in the bucket, dear Henry, and it's just
Yes,
about
yes,
circular.
Yes.
Yeah, stop creating the problem and then saying that you can't solve the problem because you can't solve the problem you created.
But
If the
they don't want to
United
solve the
States
problem because what they want
is
to
empire.
steal every empire. They want to take everybody's stuff. They want to take everybody's resources. It's in Haiti because Haiti's an incredibly rich country. They want to take Venezuela. They want Cuba. It's just Castro was so tough, and the people he trained are so tough. They've not been able to crack that code.
Right.
I mean,
look what
and
happened in
Maduro.
Syria this week. Look what happened in Syria this week. The Syrians, for the first time in over 50 years, got freedom from a brutal dictator. And that they got it, not only were there elements of our media that began to go after, well, does this mean that there's going to be a rise in terrorism? Does the United States need to go over and intervene? They only had freedom for a few days before Israel began to come in and defensively take territory. We need to stop supporting nonsense throughout the world and then saying we're surprised when people wind up at our door.
They,
Right.
I just want to push back on Syria. Like, oh my God,
Syria.
Mazel Tov and congratulations and Mabruk to them. And nothing good can come of this, right? This was a situation created by Israel, created by the war in Lebanon. And they are not rebels who came in. These are extremists who came in. And I fear for especially the minorities in Syria. We don't know how nothing good is likely to come for the Christian populations in Syria. It's bad and bad. It's like when we toppled Saddam Hussein, right? Like horrible, terrible, needed to go. And what
I don't think that those are equivalent. And
maybe worse. And that's on the West. That's on the West. But I'm worried about.
We have to be really careful about what we worry about.
We can't talk over each other. We can't hear each other.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Go ahead, Ariel.
Okay,
Go ahead, Ariel, with your perspective.
Multiple things are
Thank
true.
you, Anastasia.
Experts that really Middle East analysis that I talked to are deeply worried. And just because it was so bad doesn't mean it can't get worse, or at least so bad in a different direction. And this came out of an imperial Israel's war in Lebanon that's US supported. This is coming out of that. So I hesitate to be excited because I really worry what's next. And
this is
all from what I hear, that folks fear it will be at least equally as bad. And because nothing good comes of this,
from the opposite end of the page, what I've heard consistently from Syrians is that they were not only overjoyed and looking forward to the freedom that they could have and possibly even return to home, but if you listened out of some of the news outlets that were reporting directly from the rebels, the rebel leader said initially, and I'm bad at remembering people's names, so I'm just going to have to say it that way. He said initially, this is not something where we want to expand on sectarian differences or have religious infighting. That is something that we began to promote as a fear from outside in order to go and invade and say, okay, well, let's preemptively strike people that we think might be bad. But let's see what self-governance looks like without all of this interference, without the assumption, because had the Arab Spring been able to take hold, it would have been a beautiful thing. Were it not for the interference. Why can indigenous people not govern themselves without our patriarchal response that somehow there are other people that should be intervening because they don't know what they're doing?
Well, see, my problem.
The U.S. just a few days ago bombed central Syria. So
yes.
Unfortunately, yes, absolutely. I think we see the same root problem.
Well, America is too excited about this. For me to be excited about any of it, because I don't know who's in charge now. And so and many of the people who come here are not truly heroes when they go home, sadly, because they can be oppressive when they go home.
Mhm.
Because America tends to take in people who have an imperialist mindset.
Mhm.
We took in the Shah of Iran, who we created. And
Yes.
on and on
Mhm.
and on it goes. We don't take in Mandela. Mandela was a terrorist as president of
Mhm.
South Africa.
Mhm.
So that's how we feel about freedom fighters. Never forget that. So everybody who comes over here, my eyebrow is arched to the back of my neck because I go, wait a minute, I know what's going on here. I'm too seasoned up in the game in this international space. So my thing is, and when I'm looking at Israel gloating and expanding, Golan Heights, all that, nah, you know
Right.
what? The thing is, empires, the sad thing is, Gore Vidal, one of my favorite writers,
Mhm.
he said, my principal disappointment in America is that we could have achieved civilization, but we were ambitious for empire.
Exactly.
And that's where we are. That's what we're celebrating over there because I don't see freedom in Syria right now. I don't. And it
What
breaks
I
my
think is
heart.
what I think is the funniest part.
I don't see
We
it.
need to see what happens and see it
I'm
without the
gonna
interference.
wait. I'm just
Yeah.
telling you.
It's been a week.
May
You know?
you be
No,
right.
I'm
May
just
you
saying,
be
given
right.
my
Make something
experience,
good.
I don't know who any of these
This
people.
is the
I
thing
don't
I
know who
think
these
is funny.
people are.
Israel has only been in existence since 1948. My parents are older than the country of Israel.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
but
for people to not understand how Israel came to be and how Israel I think it was the Nova, what is it called? The Nova
The Nakba.
The Nakba.
Nakba. Right. I couldn't say it correctly. But in order to people for not to see that it's occurring again in 2024, 2023, it's crazy.
well,
Because that's really what's happening to all these Palestine was a country before it was not a country.
and
Now
it's
it's not
all
considered a country.
and
But the
it's
truth
all
is, people consider themselves
well,
Palestinian.
of course, and even Golda Meir called herself a Palestinian. The fact is, this is an imperial project. All of it is. Because
I'm
what we're
just so
trying to
happy
do,
that there's another panelist so that I'm not the one that is the only person that understands Palestine. Thank you. Thank you,
Oh,
Attorney.
I'm way there.
And I'm not saying that with you. I know I'm not saying it with you, Ariel. I'm saying from this particular perspective, usually I'm the one saying, oh, Palestine,
No.
let me tell you about the history. So thank you, Dr. Sanat. And Ariel, I know you do it with me regularly. So
No, I mean, first of all, the thing is, we know it. I just know all of this is imperialism at the end of the day.
yes.
Mhm.
I see it in many different iterations. When I go to Northern Ireland, that's what I see. I see it all over the world. And it is not
Mhm.
it is unsustainable. And so I'm willing to see how all of this is going to shake out. I just know I am someone who believes in God. And my Uncle Saint said to us shortly before he passed, God will make things right without you having to lift a finger. I just want to do the right things for the right reasons,
Well,
y'all.
Jews, Arabs, and others all believe in God. They just call it a different name.
No. That's not what I'm saying. Because I'm not hung up on that. I'm from a religious background where I embrace everybody. Anastasia, I don't play those games.
Hmm.
Because you can call God whatever you want to call him. Because I believe God does. To me, it doesn't have an agenda. God has an agenda, which is justice, peace, and love, and that's where I am on that. So I don't get into all of that. You can be a Jew, you can be a Christian, you can be Islam, you can do whatever you want. That is your business, and people need to get out of everybody's business. I'm out of that. What I'm talking about is justice, peace, and love and mercy for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
But politics and religion do not separate themselves.
No. Politics, God overrides it all. And if you don't put God at the center of everything, you're going to have a problem because you will not have justice. You will not have peace. You will not have anything. And we need to just stop playing. And I'm not saying, yeah, you have your religion. Don't you figure it great for you? Enough. We've killed enough people.
Look, Dr. Latrice's been quiet. What you doing?
She's measuring a bag. But
She
you know
said,
what?
I'm listening.
Let me tell you something, because I've got to close things out. And we are ladies. I'm going to have to get some mugs.
Did 54 minutes already pass?
Sweetheart, yes. So
Oh,
that's why.
wow.
So when you hear my voice, that means hush.
Oh,
Hush.
no.
I'm calling your name like the Negro spiritual. Hush, hush.
Okay.
I am calling your name. Yes, hush. Bloop, 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 bloop. So the Dr. LaShawn Latrice, now that you've taken full measure of everyone and just send us our scripts, I'm up for the antidepressant. Go on. No, I'm not. I'm good. What? Your final word.
Oh, in this huge conversation, it was big. I know we started with immigration and the migrants, and then we gravitated to a couple of other conversations.
Ooh.
It was just a lot of going back. So I didn't want to interject because some of the topics I felt like it was some that I needed to be educated on too. So I appreciate that. I'll just say this on the topic of how it affects us in the city of Chicago with the migrants. I think that there are a lot of people that are very upset. Me personally, I am impacted tremendously by the amount of homeless individuals that I see as I ride down Lakeshore Drive here in Chicago, and there are tents from one end to the other. It is awful. It is a huge disservice. Every time I ride by, I'm trying to figure out what I can do, what I can help with, and can we get them some cordless heaters or something like that? But what it makes me think about is overall the conversation is community against community, culture against culture. Right now, I feel like they've thrown out something in front of us so that we could be distracted, so we wouldn't pay attention to the real issues at hand. And so when we think about the corporate dollars, the money that's being made behind the scenes by bringing migrants here and leaving them in the communities in the middle of nowhere and in police stations and things like that, and just homeless on the street. When we think about how inhumane that process is, it just reminds me of how bad our crisis is in the humanity side of homelessness, and how a lot of disenfranchised communities feel like now the migrants are here taking the resources away from our communities, and they are not reaching the people here. And as we were talking yesterday, I talked about how many people have approached me about having rental assistance and approaching homelessness and not being able to keep their rent paid. But I can't steer them into organizations to get assistance because now we're told all the funding is non-existent. And so when you think about all of those components happening together, people are frustrated. So we're doing a campaign so we can educate people, facts versus fiction, let them know where you think the money is coming from is not necessarily where it's coming from, but you have to do your research and follow the paper trail, and then you'll find out who's really making money. Also, this notion of I want to hire them for work when you really want to treat them like slaves. And it's kind of a ploy to put us as Black people against those who are coming in as migrants. And I feel like they're being very successful in doing that. But I feel like that this whole distraction thing is happening and we're not paying attention to the real issue at hand. We got to come together and start holding these corporate entities and political officials accountable, those who are throwing a rock and hiding their hands, and those who are acting like they're offended by the notion that people are busing migrants in when they actually were sitting at the table making the deals. So I have a problem with that, and I think we need to continue to expose those things, and we'll get to the bottom of it. But we have to unify first. We have to be on one accord.
And tell the truth before all of that. And
Absolutely.
I'm going to get the Chicago Deputy Mayor for Immigration on, because they actually have a program where they are assisting us who are native born, who are from the United States. They are looking to do that. And I told her before she came on to speak, I said, don't bury the lead. Put that out front. Look, there are 16 million vacant units of housing in the United States today. If we wanted to solve homelessness, we could do that immediately. We have decided that we want to have a slave class in America, everybody.
That's right.
Now, either slavery is supposed to end or it will continue. But I promise you, we will not be blessed. God bless America. Well, America needs to bless God. We've been given so much bounty. And you bless God by doing right. Do that. Enough. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses who yearn to breathe free. Do that. America is big enough to do that. But you cannot enslave people. That's That's got to be over. You can't have indentured servants. That's got to be over. You can't take over Venezuela. It's not you're not right to do that. You can't kick everybody out of Palestine. You can't do that. You can't kill everybody. And we're doing it all over the world in ways great and small. We have relegated indigenous people to these reservations. They have the worst health outcomes in the country, worse than black people. You can't do that to people. And we're all guilty of it. We're so appalled that it's so false. Because many of us, when we have power, do the same thing. Ariel, we're cruel when we could be kind, when we could be good, when we could treat people correctly. So before we go off about the Middle East, be clear, everybody's got a little bit of that in them. Like clean out your own heart. And when you clean out your own heart, you're going to demand justice for everybody under the sun. Because we're all brothers and sisters. Children of the same creator, the same God. However you call God, we're all God's children, and so we're all related. Come on, everybody. Let's grow up in our politics. Let's make this thing right. Come on now. I love you, Dr. Amar. I love you, Ariel Gold. I love you, Dr. Latrice. I love you, Attorney Anastasia Sinatsi. I did a little X. Ouch. I don't know what that was about, but there you go.
All right.
Boom.
Boom.
Mic drop. Woo!
Mic drop.
I love you. but I do love you. And you are my sisters, and I'm glad that we can have robust conversations like these with each other, agree to disagree, talk over each other. All we need is a mug, and I'm gonna find some mugs for 2024. So we can just sit and sip tea and talk. Because that's the goal. To me, that's the goal here, for us to cross all of the lines that we have.
Yeah.
Because everybody's here. You got the Christians, you got the Jew, you got the Muslim, and we all here.
Yeah.
And we're all, Reverend Jackson said, we came over here in different ships, but we're in the same boat now. How about that part? Okay, like it or not, we're all Americans, y'all. We're family. Come on, Sister Pledge. Bum, 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 bum. I love you.
Right.
I'm Santita Jackson. We are out of here. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota.